Nazi Germany was a period in history marked by tyranny, injustice, and death. The Third Reich had effectively choked Germany into submission, fueling its power through fear and militant strength. Millions were slaughtered by their fellow man or imprisoned for life. It was a symbol of the darkest depths of humanity, where there was no truth, freedom, or life. However, in the midst of this darkness, there was a small beacon of hope. The White Rose Resistance Group, founded by students of Munich University, challenged the oppression of the Nazi state, speaking out against the war and Hitler's politics. In June of 1942, two students, Hans and Sophie Scholl, began working with their friends Alexander Schmorell, Christoph Probst, and Willy Graf to anonymously write and distribute anti-war leaflets across Germany, as well as Eastern Europe. Kurt Huber, a professor of philosophy at the university, also became involved, and the six formed the core members of the White Rose Resistance Group. With time, they began to gain a following across the country, and eventually had published and disseminated 6 leaflets. Only 7 months after writing their first leaflet, Hans and Sophie Scholl were distributing the last few copies of the 6th edition of the White Rose leaflet at Munich University, when they were caught and arrested by the Gestapo. In Hans's pocket, they found a draft of what was meant to be the 7th leaflet, written by Christoph Probst. The draft was used as evidence, and Probst and the 2 Scholl siblings were taken to Hitler's People's Court on February 22, 1943, on the count of high treason. Presiding over the trial was Roland Freisler, who was also known as the hanging judge. Freisler did not allow the defendants the right to choose their attorneys, and the White Rose trial was over in just a mere 4 hours. The Scholls and Probst were sentenced to death by guillotine and were executed that very same day. The other 3 main members, Huber, Schmorell, and Graf, were later arrested and eventually sentenced to death as well. None of the defendants were granted character witnesses, nor their own defense. The trials of the White Rose Resistance Group members continued for months after, serving as a means of terror rather than of justice. The Nazi government used these trials as a way to subtly threaten and terrorize any and all who dared speak out against it.
Sie sind ja ein Schäbelum!
It was said that these courts were not meant to find justice, but instead were nothing more than show trials, designed to humiliate those brought before it, presumably in the hope that such a public humiliation would put off anyone else who might be thinking the same way as the condemned. In total, 80 people were arrested in connection with the White Rose Group. Their trials were used as a warning for any future opposition, showing them their impending fate. However, the group's efforts were not in vain. The Allies were able to get a copy of the 7th leaflet and distribute millions of copies over German cities from planes. The deaths of the founding 6 members became symbols of strength, courage, and hope, showing that not all was lost in Germany. Although the show trials were meant to be a propaganda tool for Hitler, the White Rose Group took a final stance against the Reich when Christoph Probst shouted, "Long live freedom!" from the throat of the guillotine.